Hey folks, listen, we are on a mission here to help you build really good looking trees, to do it easily, to do it quickly, and pretty inexpensively. You know, you think about how important it is to have trees as a good model. I mean, trees are a model. I've seen some really great railroads that people have done and other displays where the buildings are beautiful, the track work is gorgeous, it operates well. You know, they've spent a lot of time on other details. When it comes to the trees, all right, they look a little monochromatic, all the same color, and I see some plastic trunks out of tree kits. We like to do away with that, all right? So show you a way to make trees pretty quickly and certainly inexpensively and to make them look natural. Now, what makes for a good looking tree? You can see an example right here. All right, what you want in a tree is, first of all, to begin with natural materials. All right, so you see we're not using plastic trunks here. Here's an example. We love to use sagebrush material. You can get this at a lot of places out west. Some people have sent some to us. There's some companies that sell it. Woodland Scenics does on the Super Trees box. Now you can get Super Trees material that comes with some of these. What you want is you want something that looks like wood, is woody. It's got some texture to it. Okay, you can see that essentially. There almost looks like it has bark on it. Now, by the way, if you don't want to go to the trouble of getting sagebrush, you can also be observant and maybe see some things in your own backyard. Here's a good example right here. This is a branch that I found in my backyard. I was looking at that saying, you know what? That could be a tree. It's got a little bit of detail on the side, little things popping out, a little bit of different color on the branch material, kind of looks like bark. And so you want to begin with natural material. All right, so here's the outcome we're looking for with a tree. All right, basically what you want your tree is you want to have color, different colors. When you take a look at a tree, you might think, well, a tree is green. A tree isn't just green. Drive by, watch trees, take a walk, look at nature. Trees have many different colors of green due to shadows and due to texture and due to sunlight, and brown leaves, gray leaves in there too. So what you don't want is this, what looks like a cotton ball that is green on a stick. That's what I see on so many layouts. What you want is something that looks like this, all right? You can see, first of all, if you look at real trees, you can see through them. Let me adjust this light just a little bit. Little backlight, you can see how you can see through that tree. That's the idea. You don't want something that is like a solid cotton ball or puff ball. You want to be able to see some of the branch structure inside of the tree when you're finished. So that's certainly one outcome that you're looking for. The other thing you want is texture. All right, trees are not perfectly round. They have some texture. You want texture in the branches. You want different colors with your leaf structure. And you want shadows. That's what makes it look real. And we're going to show you the steps to be able to do that. Pretty easy to do. All right, I mentioned starting off with natural materials. We happen to like the sagebrush, but you could do something from your backyard as well. You can see what I've done here. Basically, I have just drilled a hole in the bottom and taken a small nail, cut the head off the nail. You put the nail up in there, a little bit of AC glue, and you are ready to go. You can stick it right in your working area. Here's another example. This is a small piece. You can do this in any scale. If I was building an N scale tree, I'd probably use a smaller piece like this. Or this could even work in HO. Although, one thing to remember about trees is they're bigger in real life than you think. I mean, we have a tendency to do all our trees about the same size, or even in an HO scale, nobody wants to get a tree that's bigger than about 4 or 5 inches. Well, tell you what, real trees are 40, 50, sometimes 60 feet tall, which even in HO is going to produce a tree about that big. So think about how big trees are actually in real life. All right, so what's the process? Let me clear a little bit of space. We're going to make one together here. All right, so this is the branch that I got out of my backyard, put the nail underneath there so that basically I can stick it in there and get it ready to work. Now, the first thing we want to do is we have the basic structure here, but we need to add more detailed branch structure. And so what we recommend to do that is a material called Super Trees. Super Trees from Woodland Scenics, Scenic Express, a number of different companies provide it. This is actually, I think, from Norway. This is a plant that grows there, and they dry it. And this is what it looks like when you get it out of the box. It's sort of a tan color like this. You see it's got some nice structure on it. It makes for really good detail when you're working out branch structure for your trees. Now, this is the natural color. What I like to do with this is we like to paint it. All right, so basically, this is what it looks like after I've painted it. All I did was take some brown spray paint like this and basically give it a brown base coat. And what I like to do is go back just a little bit of gray automotive primer and hit it with some tips, a little bit of gray, because again, the more you create some color contrast, the more realistic your tree is going to be, because things are not simply one color in nature. So get material that looks like this, all right? So we're gonna build out the branch structure in the tree we're building together. Now, I've discovered a very easy way to be able to do this. What I'm using here is spray adhesive. All right, it doesn't have to be this particular brand, but you can see it at your craft store. Easy enough to get, and certainly easy to use. And so the first thing we do, by the way, before we do this, here's another suggestion I have. Before you start spraying that stuff all over your hands, I would recommend that you use some gloves, all right? So I'm gonna put some gloves on while I'm spraying that on. That will save me a lot of grief later trying to get that stuff off my hands. And so once you put your gloves on, then you are set to go. And it's a simple process, all right? So here's what it looks like. I'm just going to do a spray coat of this adhesive just like this, all right? You see it's turning it, getting a little bit of a white color, but that's gonna dry clear as we go forward. I would get pretty good coverage. Smells great too, boy. But you might wanna do this in an environment where you have some pretty good ventilation. Now we have the basis to be able to stick these pieces on. So I'm gonna begin by building the tree. I'm thinking about what I might do here on the bottom. As I start to build this out, there's one piece that's sticking already. And this part, I guess you might think of a little bit as like flower arranging in many ways. Now, by the way, sometimes you'll see on this, they have these little leaves in there that are part of these super trees. I like to take those things out because I don't think they add anything to the structure or to the final presentation. So see, I cut a piece off there. I'm gonna build another piece here on my base, all right? It's sticking in place just the way that I wanted. By the way, this stuff stays tacky for a while, which certainly is convenient as you're building it out. So I'm looking at my tree here, thinking, what do I need piece by piece to be able to build this out? So I got another piece here. I want to add a little bit of base structure here at the bottom. So I'm going to stick this piece right in here. Now it doesn't quite have the angle that I'm looking for, so I'm moving it up. There we go. Now we're getting a little bit closer. Now I'm looking at my material. See, I got a bunch of it over here that I actually sprayed last night. So I begin looking around. At the bottom, I like to get some of these longer branches like this. See, I'm taking some of those leaves out that I don't like, that I don't think add anything to it. I'm starting to build the structure, the base of the tree. So I got that piece in there. All right, still got some more work to do, as you can see. This is a pretty good piece right here. I happen to like this because it's relatively short and it's got pretty good branch structure. I need something a little bit heftier toward the bottom. So I'm gonna put that piece in there. We'll see how well it sticks. It seems to be doing pretty well. Come over here and get some more material. Again, you're looking at your pieces and making strategic decisions along the way. It's not that difficult to do, but keep in mind what you want your end product to look like. Take a couple of those branches out of there. And so I'm gonna add this piece right in here because I need some more structure on this side. Now as I start to look at this, I see we got a bare spot in here, right? So I'm going back over to my material. I think I need a pretty good piece there to sort of build out that center a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is pull some of these leaves out of here that I don't want. Trusty scissors out, cut that piece about that long, and it looks to me like I can put this right in here. There we go. Now I'm starting to get a pretty good structure. Now you see what I'm doing? I'm just building this up piece by piece. I still need some height there. Probably don't need as much height coming off those branches. So I'm coming back over here to my material. I'm selecting a piece that I think is gonna be pretty good to give me the height that I'm looking for. This is a good one here. All right, it's got some pretty good branch structure on it. It's too long in its current state. I was gonna snip that off, come over here and start building out the middle. All right, so you see we're starting to get some structure along those lines. A couple more pieces that I'm gonna need. I probably could use something that's got a broader top coverage on it. That's why I'm kind of thinking about this piece right here. Cut that off. Again, there's one of those little leaves that drives me nuts. I'm cutting that out of there. So I can put this over here. Now you see what happens. We're starting to get pretty good shape for a tree. I'm looking at this and saying, where do I need help? Need help right here, and I still need a cap on the top, is what I'm thinking. So probably another 2 pieces to put on that. Let me see if I have a piece that I think would make a nice cap. I'm not seeing it over here. So I'm gonna go back over here, grab another piece. So when I think of a cap, I think about a piece like this. You can imagine that as the cap on the top of a tree. So I'm gonna snip this off right about there. And we're gonna put this in as the cap. We take it right down the middle. Now, by the way, when you get to this point, what happens is this material starts to stick to itself, all right? So it's easier to get the connections. Now, as I take a look at this, I'm thinking this branch sticking out is too big. So what did I do? I just trimmed it off. Since we're working with natural material, it's easy to do that. I'm looking at the tree saying it still looks a little bit sparse here. So I picked up one of these spare pieces I have here. And now that I see it doesn't have the structure I was looking for. We'll pick up a piece like this. Let me get this leaf out of here. We're just going to start adding some additional structure right here. See how I'm building that out? And again, the glue is still tacky. It's still accepting the branches as I go forward. So I'm starting to look at my tree thinking I probably need one more piece up here to sort of cap this thing off. Let me see what I got down here. By the way, you're going to use all these pieces as you build additional trees, so make sure you hang on to them. I'm thinking that this kind of looks like a cap that might work for me here. Back to my scissors, trim it off here. And boom, we got that in place. Now, here's what we have. We have something that looks pretty good. It looks like a tree. If I look at something and I see something that I don't like that's maybe out of structure a little bit, I just trim it off a little bit. But again, I'm not worried about making this look perfectly round, because if you look at real trees, very seldom are they perfectly round. I'm cutting a little bit more off the tip there. There's a little bit of a branch sticking out there. All right? So I may trim just a little bit off this edge like this. All right, so now we have a pretty good structure on a tree. As I look at it, it looks a little bit flat on this side. I'm gonna add one more piece. I should be able to do that pretty easily with this extra material I have left over. I go in here, trim that short, right about that level. Yep, and then I'm gonna put this right in here, kind of finish out that side just a little bit. All right, so now I'm liking what I'm seeing. Trim off this just a little bit. So again, you can see through this, right? Because we got good structure, we have the basic structure in place, and we add additional detail structure with the super trees material. So the only thing we have left to do at this point is we need to, oh, by the way, I see one more bare spot. I'm sorry. I just can't look at this and let this go by. And we're in the perfect opportunity to fix it right now. See, I just pulled off some additional material and put it right there so I didn't have a branch showing on the edge. All right, so now we have our tree built. By the way, how long did that take us? Maybe 3 or 4 minutes to be able to do this part of it? Not very long. All right, we got a good looking basis for our tree. The next thing it needs is color and leaves, right? So we're gonna move to the next phase, and that's where we start putting the leaf material. Now, there are a number of companies you can use. I happen to like this. It's a German company. We would probably say Hecke. I think this may say Hecke as they pronounce it, but they produce some really good scale leaves. I happen to like theirs, especially if I'm doing a tree of this size. I think they're pretty good size. There's Super Leaf that comes from Scenic Express, some good material. There's another example of some of the Super Leaf material. So there's a bunch of stuff out there, and it comes in all different colors. If you're doing fall colors, you want to put a little bit of brown in there. What I happen to like about this particular leaf that I'm using right here is you can see it's got multiple colors in it, right? So it's got a little green, a little brown, different colors of green. So we have to be able to get that to stick to the tree. Now, I would not recommend this. This is too heavy, a spray adhesive for getting your leaves on there. So what you want is some super hold, ultra cheap hairspray. This happens to be Aquanet, probably get it at the dollar store, right? So what I'm gonna do here, 2 things. One is I'm going to bring this over as a catch basin, because this stuff is relatively expensive. That's about $7 worth of leaves in that bag. So the stuff that doesn't stick on the tree, I'd like to hang on to it and put it back in the bag. So we bring this over here. First thing we do is we give it a good coating of hairspray, all right? And don't worry about using too much hairspray. It won't be a problem. So they say. All right, so now I've got this. I'll put this over here for a minute, open my bag of leaves. I'm gonna make this my base coat of leaves. All right, so basically now I've got that wet with hairspray. It's gonna do a light sprinkle, or rotating that tree around You want to get all parts. I'm going to have it upside down so we can get some on the bottom as well. You know, again, you want to do a light sprinkle so you don't end up with big clumps necessarily of leaves. You want them reasonably well distributed as you go forward. So this is my base coat here. We need a few more leaves. And now you can see we're getting something that looks like a tree. We got multiple colors on there. All right, we'll hit some at the top, some of those leaves as well. Now, one of the things you often see in trees is the leaves, whether they are lighter or not at the top, they appear lighter. So I'm going to get some additional color on this. I'm going to give it one more shot of hairspray. Again, it doesn't hurt you at all. Let me set this aside for a minute. I got a lighter color of green that I'm going to use here. And we're going to go and add some of that lighter color of green, especially to the top parts of the tree. Again, what you want is color, texture, shadows, contrast, so your trees don't look like cotton candy on a stick or look like real trees. Okay, so check it out. All right, now we have a tree. It's got some nice structure to it. You can see through it, all right? You see that there's a branch structure in there. So it's not just a solid puff of cotton or fiberfill material. It doesn't have a plastic trunk. It's got real wood for a trunk. It's got nice structure to it, and we have some different colors and color variations to make it look like a real tree. You know, once you get an assembly line going on this, I think you probably, once you get your armatures in place and get the, you know, your nails on the bottom, be able to stick them so you can work them, you can probably make these trees in about 5 minutes or less each. It's really not that difficult to do. And so they look so much better than so many tree kits. There are some really nice scale trees out there, by the way. If you go to take a look, but they're about 10 bucks a piece. And if you have 100 trees to make, that's a lot of money. But you can make these things pretty quickly and pretty cheaply, all right? So what I'll do is, after, see, our spray adhesive left a little bit of material on the trunk. That might look okay, but if I don't want it there afterwards, all I have to do is sort of scrape that off after it dries. So we just made a tree. You can do this. It's easy enough to do. Natural materials, okay? Start with a good armature, you know, then get your super tree materials, paint it brown, add a little bit of gray highlight if you'd like to do that. Get your spray adhesive, spray the thing down. You got plenty of time then to build your structure. Hit it with some hairspray and put your scale leaves on, and boom, you have trees that look really good.